All right. Hello, ladies. Welcome to week 6 of the Nourish Project. Tonight, we're going to be talking about navigating social situations with success. So it's a big part of why I call like my style of what I coach intentional eating and not just macros, because there's so many life situations where you really can't track your macros or you can't accurately do it, or you're not going to bring a food scale or MyFitnessPal or whatever. But you still want to feel good and be on track to hit your goals. So we're going to be talking about all different things like that tonight, including travel. I know, BB, you're going to be traveling all the time in the next couple months. And Susan, I mean, you guys are like key people to have on this call. I really hope Caroline is able to hop on because she also travels all the time, like every weekend she is on. So you guys all travel for very different reasons, but same thing. So before we get to that, let's do our check-ins, and then I have a few just kind of like FAQs to go over, and then we'll get into it. So let's go BB first, and then Susan, and then Caroline, who's joining us right now.
Yay.
Yeah.
Yay.
Awesome. Let me just catch her up real quick. Hello, Caroline.
Hi, Caroline.
Hi. I was just saying, I really hope you will be able to join us because tonight we're talking about navigating social situations with success. And you three out of the 5 people, the 5 women in this group, travel so much. So we're going to be talking about family gatherings, travel, work events, eating out at restaurants, all that kind of stuff. But first we'll do one-on-one check-ins. So we'll go BB and Susan and then Caroline. And so I just want to hear, how did last week go? What do you feel like you're doing well at? What do you need support? And then again, like we did last week, what's your number one goal this upcoming week that I can hold you accountable for? And if you did high carb day, how did that go? And how did you feel about it? Okay, that's a lot of things.
Wow, that was a lot. Okay. So what went well this week? I've been able to get workouts in and doing both some yoga and stretching stuff and some workouts. And I really wanted to do your program, Annie, so that you could see what I was doing and while I was doing it. Mm-hmm. But I just think that the program that I'm doing, it's called Fit Forever. Mm-hmm. And it's a website, and it's based on back health. So everything, and they do anything. So you give them your parameters, and then they give you workouts that fit within that. And they're all different kinds of workouts, and they have stretching and yoga. And so it's pretty good. And it lets me keep track, and I can certainly give that to you if that would be helpful. But
yeah, I would like to see
that decision. So
it does sound like something that you should be doing, considering like your back injury and situation. But I would definitely love to see it as much as you can share with me. Yeah.
Sure. Eating, it has been going well, although I'm struggling right now to get enough calories because I'm not planning. I haven't pre-made stuff to take with me. Mm-hmm. Although like today was a crazy day, and I did go out and get, like, what am I going to eat? What's close by the boathouse that I can go eat that is going to be okay? And I ended up getting a protein smoothie, which I love anyway. So, I made that. I think I'm making better choices, definitely making better choices, and starting to track pretty well.
Yeah, I saw that start to ramp up when I was creeping in your MyFitnessPal.
Yes. No, I'm not doing a good job of keeping track of keeping you posted. So like doing my measurements and all that. And I think I did the pictures, but I didn't do the measurements, and I still didn't do it this week. So so I will double down on that. I have been keeping track, so I have that info, and my weight's actually pretty good right now. I'm back down almost to where I ended last time. So
that's great.
Yeah, like 170. Mm-hmm. So give or take.
Yeah.
High carb, I only did one day. Well, I did 2 days because I ate out one day, That was awesome. I had a patty melt. I mean,
Yeah.
come on.
Those are my favorite.
And then I had spinach. I had spinach pizza, my favorite, but with a cauliflower crust instead of the regular crust. So it was still within the carb allotment
Good.
of the carb. So it was fun.
How did it taste with the cauliflower crust?
It was fine. I've had it before. It was good. It's not as good. But it was fine.
And sometimes it's like that. It's like, this is pretty good. Like it's satisfying the craving,
Yes.
Making me feel like I'm not totally deprived, but
Yes.
also not throwing me way off of everything.
Right. And I bought both. But the other one's still in the fridge for next weekend.
Awesome. Good. And you can just know that and plan around it because you're planning ahead now.
Yes.
Okay, good. Awesome. Let me think. Anything else? When's your next travel?
Not until March 11th, March 10th. So
okay.
And then it's like every weekend.
So that is actually like 2 weeks from now.
I know. I can't believe it.
It's crazy.
It's freaking me out a little bit.
So, the good thing is you've done this before. Like you were crushing it. I feel like last time in the beginning of the travel season, you were like crushing it and you just got fatigued sort of towards the end. But the really good thing is, exactly what you need to do to and how, not only do you know what you need to do, but how much that affects your energy and like how you feel during those trips. Cause they're exhausting. I mean, travel's exhausting, coaching is exhausting, and putting it all together with 50 young women.
Or more.
Yes. A lot. Okay. Well, that's awesome. I'm going to keep, popping into your MyFitnessPal and just be kind of like lurking back there and checking in once in a while on your workouts too. So, good. So I'm going to be looking for your pictures and measurements too.
I think I sent you the pictures. I want to say that I did. I took them and I think I sent them, but I'm not sure how I sent them. So
I'll double check. Cause I remember you sent me an email saying you couldn't remember how to do it. And I sent you the link.
Yeah.
And so maybe you did. And I just,
you know where I put them? I put them in Trainer Eyes. They have that option there. That's where I put them.
You can just email. Can you just email them to me? Yeah. I'll upload them into the Google Drive. Okay. Awesome. That is a great check-in. Thanks for sharing all that. Susan, yay. Welcome back.
Hey, thanks. I'm glad to be back. I missed you guys. And Bibi, you look great. Oh my God. I can just see a difference.
Thank you.
Your face. She looks really good job. You're an inspiration. So I had an interesting couple of weeks. I'm doing this reconstructive surgery, oral reconstructive, which is going on 3 years now. So, I mean, I do it every February. I knew I was going to be doing it. I do it in San Diego. I went into it. I brought food. I'm so much stronger. I just thought I'm going to, I'll be great. And, so this program works because what happened is I do it under sedation. It's like, I'm in that chair for like 5 hours. Ugh. And normally I get off and it's that happy sedation where you love the world and, everybody's wonderful. And I have to keep people from, take my phone so I don't text, and buy stuff on Amazon, which I've done and then forget about it. But this time I was sick. I threw up. I couldn't walk. I had to have people help me. I mean, it was unbelievable. And I went back the next day and even the doctor was kind of worried, and I went back the next day and she said, what are you doing? New different meds, different diet, and I said, well, all I'm doing differently is I've been working out. My strength is good. I've been drinking more water and doing more protein. And that's what happened is it was too much sedation.
Wow.
By a lot. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
So as a result, it just kicked me in the butt. And so for 2 weeks, I just had no energy. I couldn't eat. So I really, I actually lost weight. I'm probably gained it back again. But it just really zapped my energy. So yesterday I finally went back to the gym and, I'm getting back on track. I have to go back to work next week. So, I mean, I really don't have much more time I had a month off for it, but, so yeah, I feel like I'm almost starting over, in some ways, but it's in my head, I'm just not tracking everything. So my goal this week is to really track my macros, put everything in, I always want to call it PayPal, MyFitnessPal. And then I haven't checked your workouts yet, but my breath, I'm having trouble breathing, which is weird. I've never had that before. So I actually have a doctor's appointment next week too. Going upstairs, like I can't do it. It's just the weirdest thing. I don't know. So I need to check that out. But I can do strength training and I can walk and do that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in San Diego, then I came back for a few days, then I went to Hilton Head. So I've had some nice, energy, relaxation and recovery, but the travel in between has been very stressful. I'm a standby traveler. I got stuck in the Atlanta airport for a whole day on Sunday, just stuff like that.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I got really stressed out. So it really has zapped me. So I need to just use this next week to get back on track. My biggest challenge is planning. I don't like to cook. So I do more, foods, not processed so much, but, I don't cook. I just eat the same things. So I think it's planning ahead and planning to be gone. So that's my biggest thing.
Yeah. Planning is so many people's downfall because it can seem like a waste of time, or I don't have time to do this. And then I literally every single coaching call I have with clients, like no matter what group it is, how long I've been working with them, I'll have someone that says, oh, I knew exactly what I was supposed to do. And the reason I didn't do it is because I didn't plan. And then I didn't have the food, or I didn't feel like it, or whatever. So there's 2 podcasts I'm going to send you guys this week. One's more about nutrition and one's more about mindset. And the mindset one is so good. And they're sort of it's about setting yourself up for success to reach your goals, but they keep referencing sort of weight loss and eating. But it's really like applicable to any goals. But she says the best way to lose weight, it's easy to lose weight, write down what you're going to eat. And so many times people talk about keeping a food journal and tracking what they eat afterwards or as you go. But if you plan and you obey your own plan, sorry, this is going to start to be a trigger word for you guys, but just writing it down or pre-plugging it in your MyFitnessPal, it is a game changer. Totally. The other thing that's a game changer is a Costco membership. Do you have one?
I did, but it's just me. So it seemed like a lot of money for just, when I buy so little.
Yeah. But what there's really, I like to get a lot of there is protein, like the rotisserie chicken, or they have just white meat already pulled off the rotisserie chicken. If that grosses you out, chicken skewers, a ton of like prep meat. So that it's like seasoned in like sauces with maybe like sort of like Indian stuff or like carnitas.
Yeah.
And that way it's like 80% of the cooking is done. You can just like heat it up and like make it into a taco or a salad or something like that. I highly recommend it.
Yeah. Tim and I talked about getting, I think because you can get 2 people on it. So, I think we could get one together.
You can run it as a business expense too.
Yeah.
And you can get gas there, which is like worth it for itself.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I will. Thank you. And I know you put out a list, I think, of stuff to buy at Costco and Trader Joe's. I think that's on your thing, right?
Yeah, I think so. I can find that and send it to all of you guys again.
That's really helpful. All the things you post that you cook are really helpful. My problem is I'll get really inspired and I'll make a whole batch of things like burritos or egg bites or whatever. And then after 2 days, like I can't make myself eat them. Like it was a gag,
So do you have trouble eating like same things like every day, like same thing for breakfast, same for lunch?
Not so much, but for some reason when I cook stuff ahead like that, it just like,
yeah, that's why I really like Costco, because you can just kind of have the protein prep and then just pull it out and use it for,
Yeah,
you know,
I will do that. I'll put that on my list this week.
yeah, highly recommend.
So thank you.
Okay, good. And yeah, I think it sounds like you're handling everything right, just jumping right back in, tracking, like just go all in, commit 100%, like live with that food scale, you know, as your best friend. And
You know, as trouble is I maybe start traveling next week. So
yeah,
and because I don't have a schedule, I get to pick up trips, which I love because we do a lot of, Final Four flying in March and stuff. So we get to go to really cool places and
oh yeah,
have layovers. So I have no idea where I'm going.
that's fun.
So that makes planning hard.
Yeah. Well, and then, you know, as part of your planning, I think it would be really helpful to have sort of like contingency plans, like plan A, plan B, plan C. Like if I get on a flight, like these are the things I always have and I'm going to grab and take them. Or like if I know I'm going to be here for a day, this is where I'm going to eat. These are the things I can buy at the airport, and kind of have all those things brainstorm so that if you're at home, if you're flying, if you're stuck in the airport, if you're eating out, like you already know, you've already decided.
Yeah. And you said you're talking about that tonight. So that's perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll be perfect. And then with the workouts, yeah, give them a try. You know, if you're having a hard time breathing, obviously be very careful, but strength training shouldn't be as bad as like doing intense cardio. But the other really nice thing is you really don't need to be strength training. And that's what the other podcast is going to talk about. He talks about being a mover as opposed to an exerciser, and the different effects on your body and the different benefits. And really, if it's too stressful on your body now to do hard workouts or to strength train, just walking as much as possible is actually really going to be super beneficial. And then, you know, getting in those strength training workouts when you can.
Yeah, well, I got 18,000 steps on Sunday in the Atlanta airport trying to catch flights. So.
Well, there you go. There you go. So listen, there's a silver lining, I guess.
Yeah, right.
Okay, awesome. Anything else, Susan?
No, thank you guys.
Yeah, it's great to have you back. Okay, Caroline, can you talk while you're driving?
Yeah, I am gonna pull over and turn a light on.
Okay.
Actually, the timing is very good because I was in an area for like 5 minutes where that would not have made sense. It was like residential, no shoulders, and now I'm in a more commercial area, so I'm in a parking spot, and voila.
Good, and thanks for being a safe driver. It makes me feel better.
Yeah, for sure. So in terms of what went well, I'll start there. So 2 things. One, I went up to my mom's little ski cabin for the weekend, and I packed a cooler with my Siggi's 0% fat, 20 grams of protein yogurt, and I brought my protein powder and some fruit, and had, my normal breakfast both mornings. And what I love about that breakfast is a scoop and a half of protein powder and 1 serving of either the Greek yogurt or the Siggi's, I think it's like Icelandic, is almost 50 grams of protein. So I can knock out more than a third of my protein goal, like just with that breakfast.
Awesome.
So I was glad, that I did that. It was super easy. I don't even think like anyone looked at me twice. Not that I was in my head about like being judged for it, but that wasn't even an issue. So that went very well. And the other thing I think that went well is, I continued to track. My calories went over, as you know, Annie.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like not at all stressed out about that. They were over by like 100 calories. And I think that is because of what I'm still trying to work on. Same thing as last week. Like I still haven't figured out the fat yet. I'm not like wildly over my fat target, but I am consistently coming in like, I think on average, 10 grams or something. I'd have to look back at the check-in sheet above the fat target. And I think on a high carb day, I definitely went over because my high carb food was lasagna. And I really didn't account for like the fat in the cheese and the meat in the lasagna. So it's like the same thing as the pizza example you gave, where like pizza may not be the best high carb food because of
Yeah.
all the fat with the cheese, although I could like eat pizza all day. I love pizza. So I want to figure out how to, on days that I want pizza, cut fat elsewhere.
Yes.
So, I'm still working on that. The good news is even with like being a little bit higher in calories and having the fat a little above the target, I still lost weight. I mean, it's like baby steps. I've never tried to lose weight and had it go so slowly, but as long as the trend line is in the right direction, I am not mad. And then so
we've also increased your calories by like at least 400-ish a day, I think.
Over the course of the Nourish project.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So another thing that I will say, was just like an interesting thing to experience is, so my mom has like a ski cabin that she rents for the season up in the Adirondack Mountains, and there were these like wind squalls. It was just like not good skiing weather because the gondola was closed, the wind was crazy, it had like rain during the week when the temperature dropped, everything froze. So we ended up just binge watching Inventing Anna on Netflix.
I'm watching that too. We're watching it.
It was great quality time with my mom, but sort of unexpected. Like I was expecting to be skiing, 2 full days. And because it just became like lazy weekend, like I didn't charge my watch, like didn't get any steps accounted for. So I feel like I just had like 2 days where it was just like, okay, all bets are off. I had no problem bouncing back, but it definitely, like, because it was so unplanned, it definitely threw off my step count and, just like some of the week's averages. Again, not upset about it, but it was just good to experience to know like these things can happen and maybe don't always bank on, every week being perfect or every week, hitting, all the goals. I don't know. So I think that's I think the questions you've asked. One other thing that I just want to share because I feel like it's interesting and maybe it will resonate. So I saw my dad for my stepmom's 50th birthday on Monday night. And my dad is, I think, where I've learned most of my eating habits from. So he was one of 9 children. So when you get together with anyone on that side of my family, like everyone eats so quickly because they were literally like fighting for food. And those habits have trickled down through the generations. Like if I get, even just like having a meal with my cousins, we're all pretty fast eaters. And some of it's like, genetics, like we're half Irish. But that side of the family tends to eat really fast, gain weight, and then feel all the shame around it. So there is a lot of dieting on that side of the family. And a lot of like fasting, and they're all men, by the way. My dad is one of 7 brothers. There are only 2 sisters, and so when I'm talking about the masses, this is all men's eating habits. So my dad is always like fasting, or when he turned 60, he went to the Camino in Spain and France, and he did 2 tours a day. So he basically walked a full marathon every day for like 3 weeks, to improve his fitness. And there's like all this extreme around eating, body image. So at my stepmom's 50th birthday dinner, like he like really wasn't eating. And I'm like, oh, probably because they had done something the day before. And so he's like fasting again. And I've always like thought my dad's behavior was abnormal. And I've never adopted any of the extremes, but I do have more insight into like, we don't really either like we're starving or like we're not eating. And so of course I wasn't eating many calories, like I come from a family where it's very normal to like not eat very much, because there's shame around the last time like a full meal was consumed at likely a faster pace than reasonable. So I don't know. It was just interesting to say like, oh, my dad really restricts his calories without, being open about it. Like these are food habits that I've probably picked up over the years.
Absolutely.
And it felt good to be like, well, I'm ordering the salmon with quinoa, like, and enjoying this whole meal while there's my dad, like, starving across the table, and he'll probably gain weight the next time he eats.
That is really interesting. Yeah, we get so many food habits from, the way we're raised that we don't even like having that awareness of it that you're having and getting is like a gift because like most people, we don't even know until you stop to examine like, oh, like I was raised to be a member of the Clean Plate Club, like absolutely no matter what. And a lot of other women that I work with, especially in the Midwest, are too. And then if they're moms, they're like eating their kids' chicken nugget scraps because they can't handle like the wasted food because they were raised like there's children starving in Africa, or it's like those kids are not getting the chicken nugget scraps that are going in the trash, right? So that is a really interesting observation, Caroline, and thanks for sharing.
I never connected the dots prior because like everyone is so extreme on my dad's side of the family, and so since I don't subscribe to any of the extremes, like I was sort of just like, I don't have their food issues. Like, I have one uncle who I think just like lives off of oatmeal, and he like runs marathons, skis. After a full day of skiing, he'll like go snowshoeing, and to the gym. And I'm just like, they're all so extreme that I wrote off picking up any of the habits, but like the general theme of like calorie deprivation and trying to like out exercise a very limited diet, like that is normalized and quite honestly celebrated on that side of my family. My mom's side of the family is not much better. My mom is an Iron Woman triathlete. She like went to the world championships for the half Ironman this past year, and she's like, of the Weight Watchers like generation. So she and my grandmother, anytime they like felt like they needed to lose a couple pounds, it was Weight Watchers, which is just cutting calories. So even though I've never been like, I'm going to do these things or, like subscribe to it, the general mindset has been like, if you eat too much, you will gain weight. If you're not like super active, you'll gain weight. So it's been nice to challenge that belief by being like, I'm just going to keep eating more and more than I've ever eaten before, but in an intentional, intelligent way.
Yeah. Wow, that is really interesting. Thanks for sharing all that. Yes, I agree with Phoebe. Big claps. I want to say one thing. I think that I'll put together something about, as I think that's a pretty common problem of people trying to get their protein without going over the fat. And so I'll either find something I've already made or like put together something with like ideas of how to get more protein without going over the fat. And Caroline, I'll specifically look in your MyFitnessPal and see what I can recommend. But I also want to say, I think the fact that you ended up having a completely relaxing, I'll call it a recovery weekend, is probably was really good for your body because you go nonstop. And as we approach like our 40s and beyond, like having that rest time and having more recovery and more downtime, it is really, really helpful for like restoring our hormones and balancing everything. And it's not always like as hard as you go on a daily basis, like having 2 days of like lying on the couch watching Inventing Anna was really good for your body.
I will say I do know that. I mean, I genuinely spent about 18 months like that during COVID. And I learned a lot from that. Like I've never felt so, I don't get tired in the ways that I used to, nothing in my body has hurt for years. So like I learned that in a major way. And I didn't feel bad about it. Like, what were we going to do? The weather was crap, and like quality time with my mom is always so great. And then I came into this week like ready to go because, I slept a lot and watched a lot of TV. I mean, like it was so icy, even just like outside to walk the dog, it was not safe. So like we would take the dog out, like, and just pray that no one fell in the like 5 minutes we were out. I mean, it was
Oh my
so,
gosh.
I mean, there was like a good base of snow prior to last week's temperature increase and rain, and then everything froze over, and then it snowed on top of that the night we got there. And then there were these like wind squalls with snow on top of like what is now just like a giant ice skating rink of property. So we just did nothing. It was good.
God,
and then I'm really looking forward to the topic tonight because my mom and I, just the two of us, are heading to Utah next week for like a 4 or 5 day ski vacation out in Utah. So this will be my first like long stretch, and we're staying at a lodge where, I mean, it's amazing, but 3 meals a day are included in the price of like staying overnight at a place where, I don't know if anyone has ever skied Alta before, but like there's very little going on there. It's like a mountain, a couple of these lodges, and that's it. So the food is delicious and like relatively healthy. So it's going to be just about making smart choices with what the options are.
Good. All right, let's get into it. The one other thing I wanted to comment is I love that you said you packed a cooler and you brought your breakfast. I do that now whenever we go on a road trip anywhere, especially if it's to my parents' house, which is 5.5 hours. I always pack a cooler, and I either bring what I need or I go to the grocery store as soon as I get there and I get what I need, because there's no victim mindset here of being like, oh, there's nothing for me to eat. Like, we're grown women, like, you know what you need. And I love that you're just like, this is what I need. This is what I love. This is what's going to make me feel good. So awesome.
And I mentally prepared myself for like my mom commenting on like how much I was eating. I made like my big yogurt with the protein. Like, it looks like a lot. I have to add water. So it's not like, so it looks like a big bowl of yogurt. And then I snacked more than like the meal times that everyone shared. And I had mentally prepared myself for her to be like, why are you eating so much? But then it came. So that's
never happened. That's nice. I get comments like that all the time. You're hungry again? Like, oh, we're eating again. For the last probably 10 years, I get that from my mom, and I'm like, yes, I am eating again. Like, I don't know what else to say about it, but I am eating again. The other thing my family does is like eat like giant, go out to breakfast and eat like the entire thing. And I'll get like an egg white omelet and eat like half the hash browns or whatever. And then I'm like, yeah, I'm ready for lunch because I didn't like eat the entire lumberjack special when we went out to breakfast. And so that's nice that you didn't get any like comments on your eating. But I love that you were prepared to do it.
For Utah is like bring some protein bars for exactly what you said, because like they're going to be 3 meals a day and they're going to be bigger. And so maybe I'm not going to do like the whole lumberjack breakfast, but then like while we're skiing, like have half a protein bar or something like that. And then I think I'm going to bring my protein powder and somehow like in a dining room, just like mix it into yogurt, which I know that they have at breakfast. So I feel totally ready to go, especially based on last weekend. If it was up to me, I'd fly Siggy's Greek yogurt or like whatever, but that won't work well. So
that's awesome. Yeah, bring your protein powder, bring the protein bars. That's like great. And other things that you could bring. Well, we'll go through this, but like beef sticks or something like that. Like could be really good as a snack. But if they have a good menu and you can like pick and choose and just make good choices, you should be pretty good set. Okay. Anything else, Caroline, before I go into these slides? Okay. Awesome. I'm going to share my screen and pull this up. Okay, so before we talk about social situations, I just very briefly want to talk about busting through weight loss plateaus. And sounds like you ladies on the call, aren't hitting this right now. Maybe in the future, maybe Lisa or Miriam are. So I just want to go over it quickly. If you either were losing weight and then it sort of plateaus, or maybe you haven't seen any weight loss, there's a number of things you can do, because remember, this is always an art and a science, and sort of experimenting and playing around to see how our body responds. So it's never just like, oh, this doesn't work. It's like, okay, let's try this, let's try this, let's try this. And the number one thing is being honest with yourself. Are you consistently tracking and hitting your macros? Are you weighing your food on the food scale, or are you eyeballing it? Are you tracking those bites, licks, and tastes, or are you kind of being like, oh, those don't matter? Are you pre-plugging everything in, or are you kind of doing it as you go? All those things really make a big difference when you add them all up together. If you're doing all that, I wouldn't assume that your macros are wrong or that you need to cut calories anymore. There's a lot of other things we do before we cut calories more. So number one is increase your fiber. That will help you feel full and help your body burn more energy. Increase your water. Same thing. It's going to help speed up your metabolism and feel fuller longer. Increase your sleep and get more recovery, just like we saw Caroline's forced recovery weekend. Along the same lines as that is decreasing cortisol, decreasing stress. Cortisol will cause your body to hold on to stored body fat. So if you're stressed out, if you're not sleeping, if you're exercising too much, your body's going to hang on to that stored body fat. So what can you do to decrease the cortisol, decrease the stress in your life? Along the same lines, like I said, adequate recovery time, and it could be active recovery. It could be stretching, walking, some sort of leisure movement. It doesn't need to be totally lying on the couch, but of making sure you're recovering from workouts and you're not feeling exhausted, you're not feeling sore when you're working out. Another thing is to avoid really deep calorie deficits. Now, everyone who's working with me, you guys in this program, we've calculated your calories. So you're either doing a reverse diet and building up those calories, or at like a small 10% deficit. So, no one here should be doing a severe calorie deficit, but that is really what happens, that people hit a plateau if they are just, on their own and say, I want to drastically cut my calories. And your body responds really quickly right away. You lose the weight, and then very soon your metabolism catches up and it's going to come to a screeching halt. And now your metabolism is lowered and that weight loss is stopped. The other thing you can do is lift more weights, which I love that this whole group is so like fitness minded and loves working out. But building muscle is putting metabolic tissue on your body. So just having that muscle from weightlifting is going to increase your metabolism. And also the actual workout of lifting weights is going to increase your metabolism for like 2 to 3 days as your body repairs and builds new muscle. So it's like double dipping on the calorie burn. And then the last thing is making sure that you're keeping that metabolism healthy by scheduling in diet breaks, which we will talk about later. No one here needs a diet break yet, but we'll talk about that. High carb days, which are essentially mini diet breaks, and reverse dieting if you need it. I have this graphic, which I will post in the Facebook group if you guys want to, study it more in depth later. I also want to show you just a real life example. This is mine. So I just want you guys to know I'm really, truly doing this right along with you. And, I want you to know I'm not making this stuff up. I am doing it right along with you. And these are my real numbers, which, I'm okay with, I guess, because I gained 60 pounds when I was pregnant and now it's coming off. But ideally I would be about like 175, 180. And this is my weight over the last week. And this is such a beautiful example. I had to show you guys, these are my high carb days right here. Boom, boom. It goes up, it goes up. and then it goes down and it goes down lower than it was before. So I started at 234, and then this morning I ended up 232.9. So that's 2 days after my last high carb day, and I'm down like roughly a pound. But if you're this is why I want everyone to be weighing in as consistently as possible, so you can get the more accurate data and be looking at these trend lines. If I had only weighed in on this day, which is probably Monday, this is probably Monday morning, I would have been like, oh, this is not working, right? But I can, because I weigh in every day, I can see this trend line of the last week and be like, oh my gosh, that high carb day happened exactly like I knew. My weight went up a little bit more, and then it went down further than it was before I started. Likewise, this is my progress over the past month. So I'm down a total of 8 pounds, but it's really up or down, up and down, up and down. And I went back through my calendar to look at these different spikes and valleys. And here's what happened. Right here in the beginning is where we started the Nourish project. And then this date is January or February 3rd, when we started trying to actually hit the numbers. And of course, my body responded really quickly right away because I hadn't been in any sort of deficit. So it was very successful. And then it sort of evened off a little bit. And then here around the 13th and the 14th was back-to-back Super Bowl and Valentine's Day, when I told you I went way over and just called it a loss. But then, that flushed right out. And then here's my most recent high carb days, went back up a little bit and down overall 8 pounds for this month, which is pretty, a lot extreme. I would assume like maybe 1 pound per month if you're starting with a healthy metabolism. But I think I posted these graphs are also in the Facebook group, because I wanted you to see like what this really looks like. It is not a straight line, but if you look at the trend over time, that's what we're going for. Any questions about that before I move on? No? Okay, cool. All right, let's get right into, so weekends and holidays. These can really derail your progress. And so much of it is about mindset and preparation. Mindset and preparation. I'm going to probably say that like over and over and over tonight. And I'm going to go through several specific examples in different social situations of ways to prepare your mind, but also prepare, physically for the situation, so that even if you can't be exactly on point or like you would cook at home, you can still keep moving towards your goals. So a couple of practical tips to get started. Number one, I told you guys you're going to have like PTSD around this trigger word, planning. Extra planning really, really helps. Especially if you're doing a holiday, where it's a holiday meal and it's around eating, if it's Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner or a birthday dinner or something like that. So plan what you're going to eat, and then preload as much as you can into MyFitnessPal. And then usually those holiday meals, or really any special meal, is going to be higher in carbs and fat and lower in protein. So the rest of the day, don't starve yourself. Eat those meals, just like, we talked about with Caroline, having like good, healthy breakfast. Try to adjust your normal meals so that you're a little higher on protein and fiber. The other meals, maybe a little lower on calories, so you're not eating quite as much as normal, knowing you're having like a big dinner coming, if in this example. But don't starve yourself. I always think of the Scarlett O'Hara example from Gone with the Wind. If you remember the opening scene where her mammy, I know this is like totally like out of date cultural reference, but I think it makes sense for hopefully what I'm trying to convey here. She has her get dressed and eat a whole chicken dinner before she can go to the party, right? So she doesn't load up on food at the party, and not look ladylike. But what we want to avoid is going hungry to like a holiday meal or a party or a happy hour or something, and then only having the choice of like nachos or pizza because like there's no other option. So you want to not go to the party hungry. you want to make sure you're giving your body nourishing food throughout the day leading up to that holiday meal or party or whatever it is. So enter those first and then, work around it and make sure you save room, and enjoy the meal as well. Don't try, the whole point of like tonight, if you take nothing else away, enjoy these social occasions, enjoy these special meals, enjoy these parties. But just with some planning and preparation, you should be able to do both, hitting your goals and enjoying them. Let's see. Okay. So more specifically about eating out, one thing that's really important is choosing the restaurant. And I think a lot of times we get into sort of a group mentality or group think of like, everyone's kind of like, oh, I don't care where we go. Where do you want to go? Where do you want to go? Pick the restaurant, because otherwise you will be at the whim of like the group mentality. So people will appreciate that you picked a restaurant, and then you'll know that something that you can eat is there. So don't be a victim of the fate of group decision making. Another sort of mindset thing is using eating out as an opportunity to get really good food that you can't cook at home. So I, for example, if it's on the menu, I will order seared salmon because I love it. I cannot get it right at home. I always cook it to death. And also Fred doesn't like it. So it's like an opportunity for me to have that and maybe on a salad or however, versus, whatever they're pushing, like, for example, the big man, double cheese, double bacon, ginormous burger, right? Which of course is going to look really appealing, but really just think about like, what really good food can I not cook at home? A lot of restaurants have calorie info, even if they don't have the full macros available. And that can be really helpful in making your choice. So often we make assumptions. I think I shared with you guys this, if not, I will, but I made a steak recipe for dinner on Sunday, and it was like a blue cheese butter filet mignon steak dinner. It was delicious, but I planned the whole thing on the assumption that filet mignon was a really lean steak. And then I flipped it over to plug in my macros, and it had just as much fat as it had protein. And I was shocked. So still happens to me, right? Like, even there's still things that I'm learning. I was like, oh, I think this is like going to be great because it's a lean steak with the blue cheese butter. I just assumed. And a lot of times at restaurants, we assume the salad is the healthiest option or like a chicken burger or something. But when you look at the calories, you might be you can make a more objective choice. The other thing you can do is ahead of time, Google just the restaurant name and nutrition info, and it might all come up. Restaurants are getting more and more better about that. Or search in MyFitnessPal. I know, like, for example, if you type Cheesecake Factory, their whole entire menu is in MyFitnessPal. In general, when you're ordering, still aim to make that macro balanced plate with 4 to 6 ounces of protein, 4 ounces of carbs, and lots of veggies. It can be hard, I know, when we're eating out, but it also can be not that hard if you're looking for it. Look for appetizers that are high in protein and not just deep fried, not just like all carbs. If you love dessert, have dessert, but focus on tasting the dessert rather than eating the dessert. That podcast that I mentioned, it's the Jay Tito podcast. He talks a lot about this, about eating different food versus tasting different food. And I hope you would make it time to listen to it because it's really good. But the basic premise is the food we should be eating is protein and fiber. The food we should be tasting is like appetizers, desserts, the high in carb, high in sugar kind of stuff. And there's nothing wrong with having that food. And that's why, I always say nothing's off limits, nothing's restricted, but you should not be having a meal of the dessert. You should just think about tasting it, enjoying it, savoring a couple bites, when you've already filled up on the protein and the fiber that you ordered. And then drinks, try to have a calorie-free drink. This is something, just slips through the cracks of our mind, but, ice water with lemon, coffee, unsweetened iced tea, diet soda. Sometimes, there can be really fun looking sodas or drinks or even mocktails that are very sugary and can be high in calories. And if that's how you want to use your carbs and that's how you want to use your calories, by all means, go after it. But just don't inadvertently be like, oh shoot, now I had a 300 calorie fruit juice cocktail or something, and I'm out of carbs. More specifically for like breakfast, lunch, and dinner, I really recommend, this is kind of my go-to breakfast, is egg white veggie omelet with no cheese, toast, order dry with butter on the side so you can control how much butter you put on it, bacon, and some veggies, and boom, you'll have a delicious breakfast that is, again, not feeling deprived, but relatively easy to calculate the macros and leaves you feeling good. Diner hash browns, you think they're just potatoes, but they pour butter on those when they're cooking them. So they're actually like super high in fat. So I love hash browns, but I try to get dry toast instead. Lunch options. If you are in any kind of metro area, there's so many good options right now, like Chipotle, Qdoba, Naf Naf, or Roti, which are like Mediterranean versions, kind of going down the line. Green and Grain or Crisp and Green. BB, what is that place in Madison that is awesome?
Forage.
Yeah, Forage is like a great one. So whenever you're anywhere like this, choose the salad bowl as a base. Like, don't choose the rice bowl. I mean, unless you really want, you don't want to eat any other carbs, but, generally a safe assumption is choose the salad bowl, maybe get like half a scoop of rice with it. Order double protein because they're only going to give you like 3 to 4 ounces, but double it up. Maybe choose 2 different options. I like to do chicken and steak to, have more different flavors. Pile on all the veggies that you can, and then have like one healthy fat. So maybe that's guac, maybe that's tahini, something like that, not sour cream and cheese and guac. It's just going to send you way over. I usually have the absolute biggest bowl or burrito at Chipotle and at Naf Naf because I have so many veggies on it and the double protein, and they laugh at me, but I know the joke's on them because I know it's going to like fit my macros. And then if you're at, not one of those places, but more of a quote unquote normal traditional restaurant, I like to tell myself, I like to go directly to the salad menu and say, you can pick any salad that sounds the best and order the salad, double protein, and then ask for the dressing, the cheese, and the bacon on the side. And that way you control how much you put on. You can sort of approximate how much it is. With the dressing, you could do the fork method, which is instead of pouring it over your salad, just like dip your fork in the dressing and then, get your food on it. And that's a nice way to not have your salad drowning in dressing and have a little bit less, but still get that flavor. Again, back to eating versus tasting, like keep the sauce on the side and just use as much as you need for tasting, because a lot of times sauces or dressings are what's higher in sugar or fat or sodium. If it's like a standard plate, like a more traditional entree, I like to take half the carbs, whatever it is, mashed potatoes, French fries, rice, and get rid of it. So it's like out of sight, out of mind, box it up or have them take it away, and then eat all the protein and veggies first, and then fill up on the rest of the stuff, or not fill up, but, taste the rest of the stuff after you fill up on the protein and veggies. And then last thing about restaurants is, there's so many different kinds of good restaurants, but I just wanted to include what I think are good options if you go to a Mexican or an Asian restaurant. I like to go for fajitas at a Mexican restaurant. You basically get a plate of delicious meat and vegetables, and now they're going to cook it in more oil than you probably would at home. But it's still probably the best option. You're going to get a ton of protein and some veggies, and then, try to limit yourself to like 2 tortillas, and again, just like one fat, maybe sour cream, maybe it's guac, maybe it's cheese. A lot of times they're going to bring it out with a plate of rice and beans, which if you're having the tortillas, you probably don't need. I would just like the fat where I say pick one. I'd also pick one of the carbs, either the rice or the beans or the tortillas. You don't need all three. And if you would plug it all into your macros, like, I'm not trying to be bossy. I've just done this for so long. I know you're going to go way, way over. And then have some chips. Like a serving of chips is 10, usually like 10 chips or like a handful. So take what you're going to have, put them on your plate, have it with salsa and enjoy it. Again, don't totally restrict yourself because you're quote unquote on a diet, because you're not, right? You're just eating intentionally and want to feel good the next day, want to stick to your goals. But you can have those chips, but try to avoid just like eating constantly out of the bread basket or the chip basket, because it's really hard to track how much you had then. And finally, if you're at any kind of Asian restaurant, Thai food, Chinese food, you can order a stir fry or curry with, again, double protein. If it's like a stir fry, you can ask for the sauce on the side, or you can ask for light sauce. Most people don't know that. But the sauce, usually if it's like a stir fry, it's kind of drowning in the sauce. And that's where a lot of the extra calories as well as sodium are hiding. You get a ton of rice, so eat maybe a third to a half of the rice that they give you, not none of the rice, but you don't need to have all of it. And then if you're looking for something for appetizers, look for something not fried and protein forward, like beef jerky, chicken satay, spring rolls rather than egg rolls, and you should be good to go. Okay, that's all I have on restaurants. And I know I'm flying through it because we're already over time, but does anyone have any questions before I go on to family gatherings? No. Okay. If you guys have any questions, or as you're traveling, I might just make a post in the Facebook page and just like for questions there. But let's go on to family gatherings and barbecues. Again, mindset plus preparation equals success. So really important to control your environment. So if you're at any kind of family thing, you bring what you want to eat. If you know that everything there is going to be like a super high in calorie, not nutritious, high in carbs or fat, bring something to share and eat it and offer it to other people. And that way you have what you need, and maybe other people might also feel the same way, but they might be inspired by you, or maybe glad that you brought something because they were too timid or cautious to like buck the culture. Remember that the point of a social gathering, whether it's a family gathering or a party or a networking event, is to be social, right? It's not actually to eat. And so many times that we're like ingrained that they go together, and really they don't have to, right? It can be about just connecting with your relatives or your friends. It can be just about watching the Super Bowl without eating 8 million Super Bowl appetizers. It can be about just going to a movie without eating popcorn and a soda. So take time to sort of think of like, what stories were you raised on? And have that awareness of like, okay, how can I enjoy this event, this party, this gathering, this barbecue without eating mindlessly? And so often that is really all it takes, is that little bit of like awareness and separating, like, how can I enjoy this event? What is the main purpose of this event? And the eating is two separate things. Don't forget that it is okay to say no, thank you. And also to like, if you can't do that, like secretly throw stuff away. Like if someone is like, oh, I made your favorite cake that was like your favorite when you were a child, like, thanks, Aunt Susie, have 2 bites and then like ditch it, right? It served its purpose. She doesn't need to know that. Just be gracious, be appreciative, and then your body is not a trash can. So if the choice is like, should I throw this away or should I like shove it in my mouth? That it is, the choice should be to throw it in. Let me see. Caroline says I have to go, but I'll watch the end on the recording. Awesome work, everyone. Okay. Goodbye, Caroline. I am going to wrap up right there because BB, I know you have a 7:30 meeting as well, right? Okay. Let me just see. So, I'm actually just going to finish this because in case people want to come back and watch the rest of it. But BB, if you have to go, don't feel bad about logging off. Okay. Bye. Have a good night. Okay. So networking events, this, is a lot. I've actually had one client, I'm not going to say lots of clients, say to me, oh, I can't not drink. I have to go to networking events. You don't have to drink just because you're at a networking event. You also don't have to eat the food that they provide. Again, separate the event and the purpose of the event from the food that's there. You can certainly go to a networking event, a party, or a happy hour, connect with the people, eat what you want, what serves you, what's in your plan, and be totally fine and happy. So again, remember the usual success principles, plan your meals. If you know you're going to something where you're going to want to have something higher in carbs, higher in fat, higher in calories, adjust your meals earlier in the day. Don't arrive hungry. Again, the Scarlett O'Hara principle. What I like to do is maybe have a protein shake in the car. And I know it's not going to completely fill me up, but it's going to give me that protein boost and also sort of take the edge off so I don't walk into the party or walk into the networking event hungry. Also, always have a free hand so that you can shake hands with people, and that will sort of slow down the eating and drinking, because a lot of times I see people who have like a plate of food and a drink in their hand, and they're standing up, and then you can't shake hands with people. So maybe if you limit it to like, okay, I'm going to have a few snacks, and then when I'm done with that, I'll have a drink, just slow it down by always having a free hand so that you can shake hands with people or give out business cards. And then lastly, set a goal for the event. And I personally like to get in and get out of almost everything. I'm such a homebody. So I had to tell myself, okay, it's a networking event. I'm here to network. I'm going to make 3 great connections and I'm out. I don't have to stay till the very end. A lot of times when we're, uncomfortable at things like networking events or family gatherings, even, we eat more and drink more because we're nervous or because we're bored or because we want to be occupied. So if you are focused on your purpose of going to the thing, whether it's a family gathering or something with friends or business oriented, it can really help to be like, okay, this is what I'm here for. And then I'm going to leave. And you can stay or as long as you want. But I find that's really helpful to avoid just sitting there eating and drinking all night long mindlessly. And then specifically for networking events and kind of parties in general is there tends to be a lot of actually macro friendly food at networking events. There's always a veggie tray that everyone's ignoring. There's usually meatballs and shrimp, chicken or beef skewers, and usually fresh fruit. Those are usually the things that are ignored. And so go for those, make a plate and have that, especially if you haven't eaten dinner or you're hungry, fill up on that stuff. Just make one plate and then, get rid of your plate. Try not to graze all night because that's where it gets really hard to keep track of stuff. The tray passed hors d'oeuvres are usually the things that look extra delicious, but are not as healthy or macro friendly. So go back to tasting those versus eating the veggies, the meatballs, the shrimp and stuff like that. My go-to drink at networking event or like any kind of party, actually I have 2 now. So one is like club soda with a splash of cranberry and 2 limes. Just like a minimal calories from the cranberry juice, but it looks like a cocktail. Gives you something to hold and something to drink. So, it's very kind of comforting. Just order it like a boss. And that's a nice thing to have instead of wine or beer or whatever they have. Another option, if they have a full bar, is a virgin mojito. Those are delicious, super refreshing, and again, have almost minimal calories. It's just club soda, a little sugar, mint, and lime, and really, really good. And then if you are drinking alcohol, any kind of alcohol, make sure you're drinking 1-to-1 water to alcohol or more water, but a minimum of 1-to-1 alcohol to water, and decide your own personal alcohol max before you arrive. Maybe you already have one. I really encourage everyone to set their own max for like life. Like maybe you're like, I have a 2-drink max, or 2 drinks 2 days a week, or I know there's some people in this group who don't drink at all, and that's awesome. But if you are choosing to drink, you can do it when you're tracking your macros. It's no problem, but it's really helpful to decide ahead of time. Again, it goes back to having that plan and knowing my personal rule is like 2 drinks and I'm out. Decide your plan, stick to it, and that will be really helpful as well. Okay, talking about travel. So this is both, you could do air travel or road trips. Again, it's going to be the mindset and your preparation combined for success. So set your intention of how you want to feel, especially if it is travel for a vacation. Like a lot of my clients, and women in this group are traveling for work sometimes, and for personal vacation other times. Set your intention of how you want to feel. So often in our culture, there's this mindset of vacation equals gluttony and not doing any exercise and eating whatever, or road trip snacks. And it doesn't have to be that way. And when I go on vacation, I try to think about how I want to feel. And usually I say, oh, I want to feel better than when I left. I want to feel more refreshed. I want to feel lighter, leaner, rejuvenated. I want to feel kind of like I've been at a spa or a retreat for the week. And knowing that, then I know how to choose my food and drink accordingly. Don't be afraid to bring what you need. Just like I talked about with Caroline mentioning bringing the cooler with her yogurt and protein powder and fruit to set herself up for success. I bring a cooler every time I go on a road trip, even if it's just a short one. I'll hit a grocery store and load up if it's a longer one. Bring what you need. If it's air travel and you can't bring a cooler, you may be able to bring like a small lunch bag type of thing as a carry-on. You could do hard-boiled eggs, raw veggies, beef sticks. You could do like turkey or ham roll-ups. You could prep, breakfast burritos or wraps, something like that. You could do yogurt. You may not be able to do yogurt as a carry-on. Susan, can you do yogurt as a carry-on? I know you can't do hummus. Oh, you're on mute. Can you unmute? There you go.
Yeah, no, I don't think you can. I can do it because we go through known crew, so we can bring
Sure.
food. So that gives me a little more flexibility, but hard-boiled eggs are good. Like you said, burrito sandwiches. I found Nick's sticks, Nick sticks on Amazon. They're like turkey. They
Okay.
really don't have a lot of crap in them.
How do you spell it? N-I-C-K?
Nick, Nick's sticks.
Cool. I'm going to check those out.
Yeah, a naturopathic friend. And I actually eat a lot of those. They aren't as quite as high in protein as some of the other ones, but they don't have all of the saturated fats and quite as much other stuff too. So they're kind of my go-to protein to bring along.
That's really good. Do you know and then I don't think you could bring protein powder through carry-ons. Do you know?
You can, you might get stopped for it.
Yeah, and it should be. I know a lot of times you can get protein powder in individual sealed packages versus like a canister. So probably the individual sealed bags are a better deal. I've had my checked bag flagged and searched when I traveled with like a Ziploc baggie of protein powder.
Right.
So try to keep it in the original container sealed if possible.
If possible, or label it. They may set your bag aside, but I think they usually let you keep it.
Yeah, I did keep it, but I had to come back to the LAX airport the next day to collect
it. No, I've been able to take it. I got flagged once for Dr. Teal's, like the soak scrub, bath salts.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So, I mean, weird stuff, but I think I've done protein powder. I've been okay, but
Okay.
it depends on where you go.
Yeah, for sure. Another trick, when flying is, you can't carry water through security, but bring your own water bottle empty and then fill it up wherever you see an opportunity. Otherwise, you're going to have to choose between paying an arm and a leg for bottled water and, an extra plastic water bottle, or not getting enough water. And
almost every airport has a nice filtered water system.
That's really good.
To fill up your bottle. Almost all of them do.
Good. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then flying really dehydrates you, so make sure you're drinking extra. And don't forget vitamins and supplements. If that's something you take every day, pack that all out, put it in baggies or whatever. If you are on a road trip, some things I like for like fast food options are Chick-fil-A is a lot of good options. If you can happen to find like a Qdoba or Naf Naf, something like we talked about, it's rare to find those like on a road trip, side of the highway kind of thing. But Chick-fil-A is a great option. Starbucks, you can get, I really like their like egg white spinach and feta wrap, or their sous vide bites, the egg bites. In a pinch, I will go chicken tenders before I would go many other things, even though they're like breaded and deep fried, like that's enough carbs and fat to go with the chicken tenders. Another in a pinch thing, wait, I just lost my train of thought. I don't know, maybe I'll come back. Maybe it'll come back to me. That drives me crazy. I totally lost what I was going to say. But there also can be some really good options at gas stations. So, not great options, but, there's better options and not as great of options. So again, look for that, whatever you can find that's high in protein and lower in carbs. If you are like, that's what you're limited to. So it might be nuts or trail mix, hard-boiled eggs, peanut M&Ms are going to have slightly more protein than like Skittles, for example. You could look for beef sticks, beef jerky, that kind of stuff. And, just do the best that you can. But the more that you prepare and bring food along, the less you're going to be limited to fast food options or gas station options. I also, depending how long the trip is, if I'm flying somewhere for like a week, I will bring a travel blender. I'll bring my food scale, and put that in a big thing of protein powder and put that all right in my check bag. And it is game changing to have just like a minimal amount of stuff to make sure that you can get the food that you need. And when I say game changing, I mean not only hitting your goals and, staying like relatively on track, but also how you feel and energy wise versus like feeling sluggish because you are, forced to eat fast food, or, order a big breakfast that is higher in carbs and fat and salty and delicious, and you end up eating twice as much than you intended originally. Susan, any other airplane snacks that you found to be good?
It depends on the airline. Sometimes they have snack wrap, like little packages, that'll have nuts and cheese and things like that. But yeah, I'd say mostly no, they're not very healthy.
No. Okay.
We do have, we have like Jack's Links, really high sodium. But everything else is pretty high carb. Not so much. If you can get it ahead of time, it's much better to bring it on.
Much, much better for sure. But if you can't, if you're in a pinch, look for something that's high in protein first, second, maybe higher in fat, and then instead of just pure carbs, because so many of the things you're going to get are like cookies, chips, cheeses that are just going to give you like a little bit of blood sugar spike, and then crash, and none of the nutrition, none of the nutrients, and not really set you up for long-term success. Okay, so in summary, I'm going to say it only one more time, I promise. Mindset plus preparation equals success. Keep thinking about eating versus tasting. So eating, filling up on the protein and the fiber versus tasting, savoring, enjoying the desserts, the appetizers, the cocktails, those sort of things. As the world opens up and the COVID numbers go down and people are getting together more, winter's kind of coming to an end, spring is in sight, keep in mind that they, quote, can't all be special occasions. This came up with an earlier client, or, sort of last summer when everything was opening up again. And, if you're going to 4 things in 1 week, they are not all special occasions. They're not all reasons to like throw your macros out the window. It might be a special occasion because you enjoy it or you're seeing a friend you haven't seen, but that doesn't make it like, oh, it's a special occasion. I'm just going to like blow my macro allotment today and the next day and the next day. If you're doing that, make sure it really is truly a special occasion. And even then, if you sort of focus on the eating versus the tasting, you can probably enjoy it just as much. Also focus on the purpose of the event, which is usually connecting with other humans, rather than eating for purposes of fun or entertainment, and you'll be served well. And then when you are eating, again, go back to the basics where we started in the very, very beginning of building your macro plate versus just grazing and looking for whatever tastes good or whatever anyone else is eating. Even if you don't know the exact macros, you'll do just fine if you focus on that macro plate, making one plate, eating it, and then getting back to the main event. Okay, I'm going to leave it right there. Susan, do you have any questions before I close it up for tonight?
No, it's a lot of good information, really a lot to digest.
Okay, good. I'm
But-
sorry that it went so long, but
no, that's okay. Sometimes it's the last 2. But yeah, any lists that you have, like for shopping lists, is I really appreciate your food suggestions.
sure.
Because
Yeah,
I'm not
so
original.
I have a grocery guide. I'll look, I feel like I put this together before, so I'll look, and if I can't find it, I'll put it together again. Sort of a list of things that are high in protein, but lower in carbs and fat that you can
right.
add in, and some lower calorie desserts and treats, because I really think everyone should be having something delicious every day that's like 100 calories or less, and there's a lot of great options out there, but if you're not aware of them, it can seem like there aren't any. Okay, on that note, I'm gonna stop recording.